Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Sporting Chance podcast. While you're here, check out the sportingchancepod.com for all the flyest merch and a complete catalog of the episodes. And check out Clover Creek Canine on Facebook for performance canines bred by friend of the show, Sean O'Neill. Do yourself a favor, get a lurcher, get a special, get a truck terrier, whatever it is, you can't go wrong. And while we're at it, this podcast is brought to you by A Journey with Red Tails. Order the book by author Bob Glass at ajourneywithredtails.com. And for all of your tightest falconry equipment, check out midnightfalconry.com. And let's not forget mountainstatefalconrysupply.com for your premier East Coast falconry supply store. Let's not forget your boy, my boy, everyone's boy, Seth Roy, NorthMountainGoshawks.com for your parent-reared goshawk hunting partner for the 2025 hunting season. Welcome, everyone, to the Sporting Chance podcast. I'm Aaron Kincaid.
And I'm Casey Everett.
And today we're joined by acclaimed filmmaker Michael Moore, the director of Bowling for Columbine and Fahrenheit 9/11, among other things. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Thanks for having me. I get that a lot. Yeah, I get that a lot. And what's crazy is we have the same middle name as well.
No way.
Yeah, I swear.
Are you kidding me?
James, yep. Same. Yep.
Wow.
That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Has that ever interfered with anything? Like, funny story. I heard from someone else that they knew a Michael Moore, and the director Michael Moore was put on a no-fly list for a period of time, and that impacted this random person named Michael Moore.
The name is more common than you would think. Even in my hometown, where I'm originally from, in Alabama, there was if you remember when Blockbuster and Movie Gallery and stuff was out.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I would have to give them my address because it would be 3 or 4 Michael Moores in the system. And I remember one time in high school, there was a girl I was trying to fool around with, and her dad wouldn't let her go out with me because he'd seen somebody's name in the paper that was Michael Moore that was arrested for selling drugs and public intoxication and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, that's not me. But and he just didn't believe me. He thought it was me. So yeah.
Well, my cousin is a junior, and he got denied a job because a criminal background check came back for his dad, who had gotten in trouble for all types of stuff.
God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy stuff. So, Michael, you said it. You're from Alabama.
Yep.
You are now in North Carolina. So you've been in North Carolina for what, 6 months, a year tops, right?
Yeah, I think like 8 months. I think, yeah.
All right, and you are currently a falconer, but I imagine you've gotten into some other activities as well that we'd love to talk about. So tell us how you got into falconry.
Well, growing up in Alabama, as you can imagine, I wouldn't say it's not a lot to do, but I was pretty rural where I lived, and I had 2 older brothers, but I was a lot younger, and it was 30 miles to school where I went to school at. So you a lot of times it wouldn't be kids to play with, so I just kind of got into hunting at a very early age, and as when you're competitive, I guess, you try to challenge yourself. So you start off as a kid, you got a 20 gauge, and then you have a 12 gauge when you're squirrel hunting, and then you're like, well, what can I do now? So I'm all right. I'm going to shoot them with a 22, and you're like, well, how could I challenge myself even more? And I'd always knew about falconry through history and whatnot, and I was like, it just started to do some research on it, and I probably wouldn't have been able to find out anything if it wasn't for the internet, because the Alabama club at the time was very small and it was really dysfunctional, and they were in the process of. I mean, it was back. This was back when they had Yahoo chat groups, and that's where I found the information just searching on Google, and they were swapping over to a Facebook group, and that helped me a lot, kind of get connected with people. But because where I'm originally from, there was no falconers in the state. All the falconers were either in the north part, like where Huntsville is, or either on the east side, close to Georgia. And so with that helped a lot with the Facebook, and being able to link up with people that way and whatnot. Um, I guess mine's kind of I would say maybe unique a little bit. I know probably other people have been in the situation. I won't say names, but I found a sponsor, and we talked a good bit, and I knew I was going to be trapping on my own because I work for the railroad, so I'm busy a lot and work long hours, and I go when I can, So I would, if I got off of work early, I would go, try to trap a bird, and trap my first bird by myself. And I'd never even held a red tail at the time. I mean, so it's kind of like a trial by fire in a way. And after I trapped my first bird, I tried to call my sponsor, no answer. Next day, no answer. And I'm hitting up people on the Facebook group because it was really unique. I'd never seen another one like that in the state of Alabama. But the first bird I caught, and I've got pictures of it somewhere. It was it had a belly band, and the tail was brick red, but it was barred. So, not being new and not knowing, I was like, man, can I keep this bird or not? And I kind of felt like probably not, because I knew that the eyes looked pretty dark and whatnot. And I'm sitting on the side of the road with a bird in my hand, Facebook chatting with people, trying to get some information because my sponsor won't answer the damn phone. So ended up releasing that bird. But it was it was a pretty cool experience. I mean, I built the trap and did it all on my own with no help. It's definitely nice to have help, but I was able to lean on some of the people off of that group. So
how old were you at that time?
Shit. That was like 2011 or 2012. I was probably 24, maybe, something like that. Maybe 24, 25, something in that range.
Yeah, there's something to be said for doing things on your own.
Yeah.
But me and Casey were both lucky to just have incredible sponsors, so I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, Jeff Fincher's actually originally from a town about 30 minutes from where I live. I didn't know him before this, but I think a lot of Jeff. I like him a lot, and we talked a lot, and I was able to get some good advice from him from time to time. So that was nice. And I mean, hell, that's why I got so involved with the club at the time and started wanting to put on the meets myself, because I knew what access I had to game, and I could put on a good meet. And if I could get good falconers to come, I could watch them and make sure I knew what the hell I was doing and was doing it right. So that's kind of initially why I got involved doing stuff with the club, was just so I knew if I could bring a bunch of folks in, I had the access, but it would help me improve my my skills and make sure I was doing things right, because I could actually hunt with a lot of falconers that way. So that's
Speaking of those meets, were you the one responsible for the regional meets down there in Alabama?
Yeah. I started. I don't remember what year it was. I was an apprentice, but I hosted the first I think it was a year before we did the NAFA regional, the first Squirrel Hawker meet. I got Gary Brewer to come, and it actually was a pretty big turnout. I mean, this was like, we had no money. The club had no money. I mean, I'm begging for everything, and IOUs. I'll pay you after the raffle type deal for the banquet and the feeding and everything. And the next year we didn't have that much money, but I put the NAFA meet on with $600 is what I spent putting that on, and I
Nice.
planned it all, did it all myself. But it's like, I mean, hunting in the South, especially like going in high school, I kind of built off some programs that just, not even necessarily like you pay attention to it, but you have to pick up on some stuff just because you were around it so much. But like the high school that I went to, they would put on deer hunts to raise money for the school. So people that had kids in school there, we would let folks from out of state come in, and we would take them on hunts and stuff. So I kind of structured it kind of like that in a way, and all the landowners were present, and they, we had side by sides and four wheelers, and it, just had pretty much everybody had guides, so you didn't have to worry about if you're on the right property, or you didn't have to worry about where to go and worry about getting lost. So it was pretty nice. Which I probably put the last I probably did them all the last 6, 7, was probably been about 8 years. I haven't really been that involved with it. I mean, this past year I wasn't at all, and the year before, I think I can't remember if that was the last one I did or not, or if it was the year before that. But it's just not to say that I necessarily got burnt out of it, but, and not to speak ill of the Alabama club, because the people that actually, not just, they're paid members, but the people who actually do care and participate, they're a great bunch of falconers, and they actually are good game hawkers. But about 2 weeks before the meet every year, you're going to have those people that, well, why aren't we doing this, and why aren't we doing that?
Bro, you're preaching to the choir. I was in leadership of the state club here for 6 years.
Yeah.
And dude, it sounds like it's universal.
It is. It is. And then after, like you're putting on a meet, and then, I'm leaving the house at 4:30 every morning, getting there to make sure this runs smoothly and everybody has a good time. And then at the end of the night, 12 o'clock, when you're wrapping up, and, people are drunk or not, when there's trash laying all over the tables and everybody just walks and goes away, and you're left cleaning up behind everybody, it gets old.
Yeah.
It gets old. Yeah.
Especially when those people, all they do is complain and cry and boo-hoo about everything you didn't do. Those are the same people who are leaving trash around, or who are getting drunk at venues that there's no alcohol allowed. And
right.
I'm speaking from personal experience here.
Yeah, right. Which, we had some run-ins before where some of the places where we're allowed to hold like the banquet or the venue after the hunt, it was no alcohol allowed, and everybody knew, and some, they want to, be disrespectful and break that rule. I mean, I personally don't care if you drink or not, but if the place that's letting you put it on says no alcohol, just respect it for the time of the banquet, and then you can go somewhere else and hang out with everybody. That's no problem.
Right. Doesn't seem too hard. But
no, falconers like to drink. That's a hard one. Yeah. I mean, every meet, everybody likes to drink at the meet and chat and BS with each other. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard.
Most of the time it wasn't ever really a problem. It was just like some of the places that we put a meet on at, like we could not find a place where we had a building to, host the raffle or whatever. And, just that one or two times, I think there was just like no alcohol there. So we weren't able to, but it wasn't that very many times. And one of the other things was, so in my head, when I was president, instead of just sitting around not doing anything, I was trying to have somewhat of a vision. And falconry is a sport of hunting, just like deer hunters. They have deer hunting clubs. What do? Are they worried about selling T-shirts at a raffle meet, and want to buy and do all this stuff for the club, or should we do stuff that maybe helps get other falconers land access or something with that money? I could never get anybody on board, but I mean, we made about $8,000 off of that NAFA meet, and wow. I wanted to start leasing land for falconers to hunt and have different spots, around the state.
Great idea.
And I could not get anybody on board with me. They wanted to buy T-shirts and run it like it's some kind of business that it's not.
I like a T-shirt pretty good, I got to admit, Michael.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, we designed all ours and had people draw our stuff. Yeah, I agree with that, but spending money on silly stuff and buying a bunch of extravagant raffle items. Now, don't get me wrong, I always wanted to give back, and for our sponsors like Western and Mike's and whomever donated to us. Yeah, we can buy some stuff, but going out and spending a whole bunch of money and only a few people dropping raffle tickets in, and it just to me, it doesn't make sense to have $400 or $500 item and there's 3 tickets in the pot. You're not, the point's to make money for the club so you can do stuff for the sport, and it just kind of blew my mind.
Me and Casey have noticed, and I'm wondering if you made the same observation, that falconers are a bunch of tightwads.
Yeah, well, except for me, especially if I'm drinking. Like I remember the last 2 South Carolina meets that I went to, I kind of felt bad about it, but I dropped like $500 for the raffle, and I wanted everything, and everybody's looking at me, and I'm like, man, these guys, they must hate me. I mean, the last one, I won a cooler. I won like $200 worth of frozen quail. I had all kind of shit, and I'm like, man, these folks asked me not to come back. I mean, I got lucky, I did, but I mean, I definitely made my money back. That's for sure.
That's awesome. I never win.
Yeah,
I never win anything. What kind of stuff did you have in mind in terms of vision for the club?
Well, I mean, the state, and this wasn't all me. I had a hand in it, but there were several active falconers in the club, in the community. The state of Alabama, we approached the state, and they actually opened up, I think it was either 7 or 8 state parks strictly for falconry. So anybody who was a falconer could go to these state parks and hunt where nobody else could hunt. I mean, you'd be surprised if you would just ask what people would be willing to do.
How'd you start that process?
Well, so actually our the guy that headed up, he's actually retired now, but the guy that headed up our the falconry permits, and he was awesome. He would come to our meets and stuff every year, and we kind of told him what we were looking to do, and he got us in contact with the right people, like with the state and I guess DNR and stuff like that, and just started sending emails and talking about stuff, and they were on board, and it got passed and pushed through. It was pretty cool.
That is cool. I would just be so sure falconers would ruin it, though.
Well, and to my knowledge, I think everybody's been pretty respectful. I haven't heard of any instances. I don't remember hearing of any anyway. But yeah, it's a possibility that somebody could definitely ruin it. Yeah. But
it's frustrating because in my town where I live, there's some guy got hurt. I guess he fell out of a tree stand, is what I'm hearing, and he's trying to sue the town. It's a big town. And so now they went around and put up all these signs that say no hunting, on town property, when you used to be able to hunt on town property. So I'm like the only one. There's a couple falconers in the area, town, like quite a few actually. But like, I want to go to the town and see if I could like have a meeting with them and say, listen, I'll get an insurance policy, whatever. We're not discharging firearms or bows. We're not climbing trees. We're just running dogs and flying birds. Like, is there any way you can make an exception? So, it's a lot of land too.
Yeah.
So, it's just frustrating, and it makes sense because like, if you can't, there's a reason why they don't want you hunting it with hunting it traditionally, because it's, it's a certain area, shooting guns or bows or whatever. I get it. But if we're flying birds, like, it's a completely different thing. Like,
Yeah. And if you start to dig deep and actually start looking at stuff, I mean, I would imagine that there's other states like this as well, but I know that Alabama, because, when you're putting on a meet, some people are, the landowners will be like, well, if somebody falls out there, they're going to sue me or something like that, but not everybody was worried about that, but some were. And then you want to print out a bunch of pamphlets and have people sign, sign a letter stating they won't, retaliate if something happens to them. But we ended up not having to do that because I actually contacted a lawyer and I was asking questions about that. And the state of Alabama has it in their laws that if you are allowing somebody to be on your property, whether it's hunting or recreation or whatever, and they're not paying you for it, you cannot be sued over anything. So if I was charging you to come and go on a hunt or something, or whatever, like deer hunting or something, or like on a paid hunt, I guess I could possibly sue over that. But just letting somebody come and use your land, and if they're not paying you, you can't be sued over that. So I thought that was kind of interesting to know. Yeah.
Well, it's because it sounds like it's a pro hunting state. Like, for example, New Jersey, they don't have that law.
Yeah.
So friend of the show, Brian Melvin, he gave us the insight. He uses it's a company called New Jersey State Federation of Sportsmen's Clubs, and basically you can sign up and pay a small yearly fee, and get coverage like just as a personal hunter. Which you could show to the landowner. Basically, like if you fall out of a tree stand or break your leg on, a log, you're covered, and the landowner wouldn't be responsible. You can show them that, and that'll sometimes help them. But I think that should be waived throughout the whole country. If you're letting somebody hunt on your property and you're not charging them for it, you shouldn't be. The landowner shouldn't be liable.
Right, I agree. I agree 100%.
It's so easy to say no. Why tell somebody, you have nothing to gain from it?
Exactly. Zero.
Right. Yeah, we ran into that a lot when we were out west a couple of years ago, trapping red tails, and I think Utah was the worst. People would be like, "Yeah, you could, you can." We were taking some ISs from Nest and taking blood samples and taking pictures and whatnot, and then some would say, "Yeah." Then you come back the next day and they're like, "Well, after I talked to somebody, I'm scared, I don't want to be liable, whatever." So then they kind of, say no. So, but yeah, I mean, but in a way, common sense would tell me if this guy just traveled from Alabama out here to do this, and he's literally pulling a man lift behind him, a cherry picker, he's probably not going to sue. He's pretty committed to this. So, but it's their property,
Yeah. So during that whole study with Jackie, you brought the cherry picker with you, or you hired somebody?
Oh, well, it was a pull behind man lift, and we actually just rented it out there because we was riding around, spotting. We had we tried to get some help out there, as far as like spotting nest and whatnot, but a lot of it was just putting the miles on there and looking for them soaring, or spotting the nest from the road. And I found a nest with a pair of dark morph red tails in it, and
nice.
It was in a dead tree, and we had a guy from Poland with us who was actually an arborist, and he would climb, and I didn't feel comfortable with him going up in that, you know, with being dead. And so I found a place in a town down the road, and man, I pulled that damn thing all over the place for several days while we were out there, just to have it as a backup. And you know, it was worth the money spent, you know. But we didn't pull it from Alabama. I just rented it while I was out there. So
Okay.
That's a great idea, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the portable ones. If you can back a trailer up, you can get it in some spots for sure. So
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if they make real like compact ones that you could pack in somewhere.
They might. This one that we rented, it wasn't that long of a trailer, but I think it was I think it extended out to like 50 foot or something. You know, I mean, it's not the best, but I mean, it was better than nothing for sure. We wouldn't have been able to get into that tree and sample those birds without it for sure. So,
what came of that study?
She's you know, she was still fooling with it and getting all of her information together, and you know, trying to get all the results together. So it's still ongoing in process. So
Interesting.
But it's pretty cool experience.
I bet it was. So in your time doing falconry, what birds have you flown?
Red tail. I mean, you know, I know it kind of sounds maybe silly or whatever. I mean, hell, I've never even seen a goshawk fly in person. I mean, I've been to NAFA meets and stuff, but I mean, I just wasn't in the right place, right time. I mean, I think I saw Lawrence Golden fly one of the days I was out there. I've been to a couple, but
I bet she's got a long line.
Oh, I'm sorry. I lied. I forgot. I did have a cast of Harris's one time. I forgot about him. I swear. I'm sorry.
It's easy to forget about.
Are you embarrassed?
No,
Michael's embarrassed.
I mean, honestly, so right after I became a general, I was like, well, I guess I'm supposed to do something different now because everybody does, right? So I put a deposit down on 2 Harris's, and I had a friend, an older gentleman who he ended up having a heart attack, and his wife was sick with cancer, and he kind of got down, and he had bought a pair of females, and he wasn't able to hunt them their first year at all. So when I got them, they were starting to molt their juvie feathers out, and I took them from him and flew them, and I mean, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. It's just you know, it's kind of a different flying style. I mean, we were successful. I mean, we caught a lot of squirrels. Definitely, you could see, even though they're both. I mean, one of those females, I swear she was flying at. I think one was flying at 1050 and one was flying at 1100. I mean, and one of them, yeah, and one of them, she would bring you to your knees. I mean, she had a damn grip on her, and she was the more dominant one. But yeah, I mean, trade them off easy. I mean, they would both come in on the kill, but you could definitely see that one was more of a support bird and a spotter, especially if one of them kind of got a little angry with the other one, you know, peeked at it a little bit. But it was interesting. It was fun. Just a different flying style. And honestly, with my work and as busy as I get, I like a wild bird, because if I get busy, I will not let a bird sit in a mew. I can't stand it. I feel like a piece of shit. So I will yeet it out the door and go on about my life, and I'll get another one if I need to. Hell, I flew males for years just because it was a bad year, and a couple of years in Alabama in the area, and I just wasn't really seeing any juvie females. And the first year I caught the biggest female that I'd ever seen. I trained her, and I got busy at work, and I gave her to a buddy. I was like, man, I can't let her just sit in the mew. You know, I take her. Either you take her, or I'm gonna cut her loose. And
how big was she?
Oh shoot! I mean, I'm trying to remember. I don't want to lie and say she was and she was kind of I hate to say a bitch, but she you know, I don't know if you ever noticed, but sometimes when you're training a bird, it's like you almost have to, like, they're stubborn. You got to take her to full submission. It's almost like, it sounds awful to even say, like you have to just get them down a little bit and get them to, cut out the crap. And then after that, brought her up, and I can't remember what he was hunting her at the second year, but it was just crazy. It was like, it was 13 something he was hunting her at. She was huge. Good bird. I couldn't let her see it. So
yeah, it takes a lot to just, it's very admirable that you do that.
I found those big females are usually kind of, like you said, for bitchy, for lack of better words. They're the ones that'll bite you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And honestly, in my opinion, if you don't really, I hate to sound like an asshole, but if you don't really participate in the hunt, if you're not just, well, especially like I won't say that for the people in the north, but in the south where I'm from, like the deep south, it's 75 degrees in December. A lot of times, if you're not just lathered down with sweat at the end of the hunt, then you ain't participated enough. That bird is gonna know what your value is just as it would a dog. And if you're not helping it produce lips, that's where the self hunting starts at. It will leave your ass and you will be following the bird. I've seen it too many times with people I hunt with.
Yeah, it's like when you take a group of people out and too much lollygagging is going on. Birds hate that.
Yeah, they do.
That's why I get sick I get butterflies in my stomach when we go out to a field meet and we're going to have to entertain like 10 people.
Yeah.
It's like it reduces your chance of success dramatically, in my opinion.
We've it's kind of been a weird situation for me, just because there was no falconers in the area where I was, and so many people wanted to see it, and I swear it was either me and the bird or me and Jackie, or it was 30 people. And I guess like starting off with that many people with the bird, especially when you got it new, they just get so used to it. They didn't really care from our experience. And especially like if you watch some of the videos that are on YouTube, like you'll see it'd be 15, 20 people running around the woods, little kids everywhere. And some days it did affect it. Like you would see that bird maybe would pull up on something because somebody was running in the wrong spot or something like that. But I think maybe it was because we started hunting with so many people around that they just had no choice. They had to get used to it. But it usually turned out okay for us in that sense anyway.
I think Aaron's referring to like when you're out in a field rabbit hawking and there's a crap ton of people there. Because when you're squirrel hawking, it's different. The squirrel's like in a tree and then somebody sees it and then everybody can kind of like run over there. But with rabbits, it's like if everyone's not paying attention or like following the cues of the falconer that's, flying, you got 3 people chatting, walking 100 yards that way. You got the group in the middle and you got people randomly walking, and then you just got rabbits kicking up randomly. And it's like the whole hunt is like sporadic. So maybe that's, I don't know. That's what I've noticed, but with squirrel hawking, it doesn't really like, if you get it, if you see the squirrel, it's great. Like, yeah, it's right there. And everybody starts running and the bird sees it. And then it's kind of like the more, the merrier. But with rabbit hawking, you gotta be like militant and organized.
I wouldn't know. I've never killed a rabbit. I don't even know what rabbit hawking is.
Really?
They just, all the times I've had a bird in the woods, we've kicked up one swamp rabbit, which is, it's like a cane cutter is what we called them. it's just like a big jackrabbit out west. It looks like what you would see if you went to Amarillo to fly on jacks. That's what it looks like, and it lives in the holes in the swamp. And I remember kicking up one of them one time, and it went through an old rusty fence that was half rusted through, and the bird got a bad cut on its leg, but the bird missed it. But that was like my second year into falconry, and I don't think I've seen a rabbit since.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
I remember my first season, I found 2 random rabbits in the woods. Just, I had no dogs. I had no way to go to rabbit spots and find rabbits. Just random ass rabbits, hunkered down beside a tree or something.
Yeah, I think, a lot of it's because the coyote population was pretty big back home, but you did see some cottontails from time to time, but especially like out back in the garden. But it was always at night when you saw them. You didn't ever see them during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So you'd mentioned the coyote population. Have you ever done any? Well, you said earlier squirrel hunting. What other types of hunting have you done?
Anything, hunting, fishing, anything you think of. I used to hog hunt with dogs. Used to have my own bay dogs and catch dogs.
Talk about that. We haven't talked to somebody who does that.
Yeah.
We would load up a bunch of people in 4-wheelers and dog boxes and cut the cur dogs loose. And once they bay, and you run over every sapling and tree through the thicket to get there. Yeah, get the catch dog in place and release it and run up in there and grab a 350, 400 pound boar by the back legs and flip him and get the dog off of him and slap some handcuffs on him and load him up on the 4-wheeler and go release him somewhere else.
You don't kill him?
We would sometimes. We wanted to eat them, but we just like to. You couldn't transport them anymore now. It's illegal to transport them. But
that's what I was just going to ask. Were you collecting those big boars for some property somewhere to sell hunts?
No, but we would. Pretty much now. I have it. That was probably the last time 2007. No. It'd have been probably 8 or 9. 2008 or 9 is probably the last time I've been hog hunting with dogs. Obviously, if I was deer hunting and one come out in the field, I would shoot it for sure. But I guess just and anybody would shoot them because they're they're so prolific and they tear up everything. But for the sense of hog hunting and that part of the sport, we would tie them up and transport them.
Is that where Hogzilla was shot? Alabama?
That was Georgia. Yeah.
What was that? The one that was like 1,100 pounds or something?
Yeah, it was huge. But that was just because he was cut.
What kind of catch dogs did you use?
Whatever kind of pit that would do it. They didn't necessarily last long, honestly.
Yeah, I know it's brutal.
But yeah. They you'd put a cut vest on them, or maybe a collar on them. But them boars, they're tough. Slinging them heads with them teeth. They didn't usually last too long. Every now and then you get a good dog. I had a buddy who had a great dog. It lasted a long time, but.
And when you say last, do you mean it's like it's getting killed, or it's just refusing? It's just refusing to catch.
Yeah. Well, either or. If it won't hunt, it ain't staying at the house either. So it's going somewhere else. But yeah,
somewhere else.
Yeah. But yeah. We weren't killing them. Give them to somebody. There's always somebody that would take a dog. But,
you ever seen a Dogo Argentino?
I was just going to ask that. Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
I don't know that I have. Maybe I don't know if I would have known what the name was.
They're the big giant white ones.
They kind of look like a mastiff.
Like a mastiff. Yeah. My wife's from Argentina, as everybody knows. But my brother-in-law is like obsessed with them because they're obviously from Argentina, and he's got a buddy here that breeds them, and he wants me to like help his friend put those things on game. And I'm like, dude, I live in New Jersey. Like, what are we gonna go do with? There's nothing to go catch with them. You gotta take some drives down to Florida and catch some pig. I mean, because they're like a pit, but they're like 3 times the size.
Okay.
Big long legs. It's a bigger dog. It's just a very big dog.
Yeah. I mean,
very smart.
Most of the stuff we use was like, I didn't necessarily like them that much. I had some Catahoula's at one point, but I didn't really like them that much. I don't like
what would you use them for?
A bay dog, just to track it and bay it and hold the hog. But nobody that I hunted with, we didn't like mouthy dogs on trail. We didn't want them speaking unless they were bayed. And I tend to find the Catahoula was kind of mouthy, and they were harder to break from it. But I mean, I had 2. They were okay. I guess I would say okay, but I mean, blackmouth cur was probably about the best that, probably what most everybody had that in the area. Or you'd see something like what was it called? Like out from Texas. They would always come up with these weird names for breeds or something. It's just a mix, but like a blue lacy or something like that, I mean, some people would run Walker hounds, whatever, something like that. But like I said, they're real mouthy, and we didn't want anything that was mouthy on track just when they were baying. So most everything was a blackmouth cur that we used.
Did you run GPS on those dogs?
Oh yeah, old Garmin systems back then, or yeah. Quick.
So it's a lot like the dudes who hunt bear with dogs.
Oh well, that's one of the things that we had a group of guys that in the off season they would come down from I think they were from somewhere in the northern Tennessee, but they would they bring their bear dogs down because they say bear and hog smell a lot alike. I don't personally know, but and I mean I know bear dogs could get pretty expensive, but they would especially if they had a buyer, they'd bring a buyer down with them if it was off season, and we would run hogs with it, and I mean pretty impressive dogs. But yeah, I mean, well, I remember doing that. I've never bear hunted before, but I've hunted with bear dogs, just not on bear. So,
yeah,
right.
That'd be one of the situations where it'd be pretty easy to walk in there with a spear or a knife and kill the pig.
Yeah. I mean, because if you're running, let's say you're running 6 dogs and you got 6 blackmouth curs bayed, I mean, they're just surrounded it. The hogs just standing there running in circles. You could definitely do that.
Especially if you ran some catch dogs in, they grabbed a hold of it, and you just walk in there and give it a good stab right in the heart.
That thing's just squealing its brains out. It's like,
yeah,
we're going nuts.
You do a good pig.
Yeah. Dude, I used to have a pet potbelly pig, man, and that thing was so smart. It would live in the house, and I used to go to the bathroom in a litter pan, but it was real like I could grab it and like play with it. It would roll over. I could scratch it, but like if like my sister came over or somebody was hanging out that it didn't know, and it was like nuzzling them with its nose, and like you try to push it away, it didn't have any tusks, but it thought it did. So if like somebody tried to push it, like, hey, get away, it would like turn around and be like, and like try to like grab them. So
how long did that thing live?
It's a long story, but I had to give it away when I met my wife because me and another girl got it together. So I had to get rid of the pig when I met my wife.
Sad.
Yeah, it was a great little piglet. I could just cut it loose and call it, and it would like come running to me. It like knew all these tricks. It would sit. It was an awesome pet, honestly. It was like super smart. But yeah, if I had to grab it and like discipline it, it was so funny. It'd be like, it was just so funny, it was hilarious. Stupid pig. They're so smart. They're so cool though. They're super cool animals.
Where we hunted at, like I said, I mean it's Alabama. It's not all rural, but there's some spots out there. It's pretty rural, and it's a lot of wild hogs everywhere in swamps. And we were hunting with my neighbor who ended up becoming a falconer as well, John Brunson. Y'all would love him. He'd probably be a good character to get on here. And we was hunting his male razor. Great bird.
I remember when he was on Facebook.
Yeah, and
Who's this guy?
John
Bronson, but I haven't seen him in a long time. He might not be on it anymore.
He's still on Facebook. I don't know if he still is. I mean, I'm hardly ever active on there anymore. I check it from time to time, but he's still on there, I think. But his little male caught ended up catching two little short pigs, wild hogs in the woods, and we had a group of guys with us hunting. I think it was for some boys, like young boys, youth group thing hunt or something, like a men's day or something. And they're all around excited, screaming, and we're pulling pistols and getting ready because, I mean, clearly, like, you got a piglet that's screaming. Mama's gonna be pissed off and coming in. Like we now's not the time to celebrate and stand around. We need to get the bird off the pig and get the bird safe, because if she comes in, she's gonna wreak havoc. But she didn't end up coming in. But that was a pretty unique experience. I was surprised.
They might have been orphaned.
Yeah, because that male that he had, I mean, it was. I don't know anybody else that would have hunted that bird this long. I like males fine because they can recover and maneuver ungodly stuff that you wouldn't even imagine. A female just has no capability of moving like that. Mm-hmm. And he we caught that bird and he kind of got attached to him. But John and I was hunting every day, and we were hunting twice a day on the weekends. And I was trying to help him get this bird going. I watched this bird drop 30 squirrels in a row. And I told him, I was like, John, look, something's got to give. You got to get rid of this bird, or he got to start catching, because I can't keep doing this. I can't keep watching this happen. And the next day, I know it sounds silly to think, but he pulled him out of the box and he looked at him and he made his mind up. And he said, buddy, if you don't hold on today, I'm turning your ass loose. We went hunting. The bird held on. But I mean, it was just, it's like the locking mechanism in their foot when they're young. They can't, it's like they have trouble controlling it sometimes, because they'll be jerking, trying to release when they're bound to you or the squirrel. And it was like something was going on to where he just, when he wanted to release it, it wouldn't release. And then it was just coming undone, because I could tell he was trying to hold on. It's just like, whoops, all of a sudden, and it was just crazy to me to see it happen. I mean, literally, I'm swan diving, trying to catch the bird when he's floating down with the squirrel, and just right in front of me, you could feel the fur of the squirrel, and the squirrel runs away. But that bird he turned out to be a good bird, which shows you, like, I know sometimes you get a dud and they just won't do, but like, if you put the damn time in, they'll turn into an athlete. I mean, it's not going to get healthy, and it's not going to get that stamina and the experience by you sitting on the couch. If you put the time in, that bird will be an athlete and it would perform for you. And it was something like, unfortunately, Razor passed away from West Nile. But yeah.
How long did he have him?
Shoot, I think that was going into his 4th season, I think. So the last year that Razor got to hunt, he went something like, I think it was 84 consecutive hunts bringing game home. So yeah, that's awesome. That's pretty good. Yeah,
that's a high success rate.
Yeah. He was for him. Yeah. Once he figured it out, he had it figured out. He's a pretty good bird.
Have you ever had a bird pass away in your years of doing
let's see. Well, I had probably the best bird I ever had. It was a male. I named him County Line because I caught him on the county line. His first year, I think I took, I can't remember. I think it was like 79, 80, 82, something like that. Squirrels with him. and going into his first year intermediate, he ended up getting West Nile, and I don't know. And that's what's crazy. It's not even that many mosquitoes around the area where he was at. I mean, and I just noticed that he was acting different one day. He didn't die, but his depth perception was all off. You try to fly him, and he would come at you, and he would either bind to you, trying to grab your glove and land, or he would fly 10 yards past you. And ended up donating him to who was it? I think it was a Gulf Coast something or another. I can't remember the name it was, but it was down in Gulf Shores that they kept him and used him for educational purposes. So he could still serve a purpose, but he couldn't serve a purpose for me because I'm not keeping a bird that's not going to be a falconry bird, and I didn't want to put him down if I could find a purpose for him. So. Yeah. So as far as I know, I'm assuming he's still alive. I don't know. It's been a few years since I've been back down that way. So
we'll just assume he is.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start doing West Nile vaccines on my birds.
Yeah, Jackie and I were talking about that and thinking about doing that as well. I was talking
to my avian vet when my goshawk sustained the fatal injury, and I had her in the office, and we were sitting around waiting for something. I asked the vet if he'd ever done avian West Nile vaccines, and he said that he has not, but he would be willing to do it. He'd be willing to look into it and do it. So yeah. I know a lot of falconers will do it themselves.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing I would want a professional to do, especially with a good falconry bird.
No, yeah, I agree. I don't like fooling with stuff like that. I don't feel certified or like I know enough to do it, and I would feel like I'd mess something up. So
I've heard of people puncturing air sacs and things like that.
Yeah.
It's the way to. Yeah, I've been procrastinating doing it myself, but I feel like it's not that hard to do, and it can help.
Yeah, I mean, it might cost you $100 or something to go get it done, and if that saves the life of a $3,000 goshawk, I would do it.
True. Good point.
Yeah,
especially something like goshawks. I think they're more susceptible, aren't they? Supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually ended up the mew that I'd built in at our last house in Auburn. I ended up putting up mosquito netting across the windows and kept everything sealed up pretty well, and it worked great. I was actually surprised that it was pretty airtight. It worked pretty well, but there's still that chance, you don't ever know one could slip in.
Or while you're out hunting, especially if it's in the South.
Yeah.
That's why I hate early season here in North Carolina, because squirrel season opens mid-October. It could still be 80 degrees.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, our season in Alabama ran September the 15th through March the 31st. And if you made it through March 31st, and we started early and we hunted the whole time, but you'd be so damn tired and just giving out. You had to take a break. I mean, you really did. You'd be beaten up and scarred up, and there's no way that you or the bird could just keep taking that kind of brutality. The bird would need some recovery time for sure. And it's definitely hot just about all year round down there too. So
unless I have to train a bird, I usually go start November and end of February. Season ends here in the March 1st, so last day of February is the last day of our season.
Yeah.
And usually at that point, that's when you start to catch squirrels that you can tell are nursing, or squirrels that have babies in them. That's like, I don't want part of that, man. I'm not doing pest control. I'm out here hunting. I want to be able to keep good squirrel populations in my hunting spots. And I figure every pregnant or nursing squirrel I take is going to be, however many less squirrels I have next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how that makes a difference, right? Because it doesn't. When you catch them and they're not nursing or they're not pregnant,
you're like, yeah,
you're like, yeah. But then if it's like it has babies in it, you're like, oh, I just killed 5 rabbits instead of 1.
Yeah,
it's like it's the same thing.
If you were Harrison, you'd count it.
Oh yeah. You take them out, put them on the snow.
Yeah, he would skin it and lay the little fetuses out.
put them on a stick. Put them on a stick and take a picture.
He skewers them like a kebab and sticks it in the snow.
Yeah, because we caught last year at the meet, we caught a couple that were pregnant, and people were like getting all mad, and I'm like, well, I mean, if I caught it 5 weeks ago, you wouldn't be saying anything.
That's true. That is
true. It's the same rabbit.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's different when you actually see what you're doing.
I got in trouble. I got in trouble at a meet one year. I think it was in South Carolina. Because when I'm hunting, I'm in a zone and I'm going, and if there's a dead tree, like, now I'm not talking about like a stump, but like a 15-foot dead tree that, could possibly have a squirrel in a hole, I'm gonna push the son of a bitch down. I will get wide-eyed and almost pass out, but it's coming down if I can get it down.
You get the momentum going.
Yeah, and hope the top don't break off and pop you in the
head. Yeah.
And I pushed one down, and 3 little babies ran out, squirrels, and I was asked not to push any more trees down and stop messing up the squirrels' habitat.
Who asked you to do that?
I don't remember who it was.
They need some tests, didn't they, Casey?
Oh yeah. They have testosterone. Yeah.
Maybe
I stopped doing that. I stopped doing that when I saw a family of flying squirrels run out of it. I felt bad.
Shut up!
I felt so bad. I felt horrible. I destroyed their home.
Oh my god, this guy!
Hey, they can live horizontal just like they can live vertical. So
that's right. But to be honest, I'm pretty sure you can't do that anyway.
Yeah,
I don't think you can do that. I think you're not allowed to for hunting. I don't think you can knock stuff over. I mean, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
So, but I think technically, if a game warden was standing there, I think it's illegal.
Well, we should have asked our game warden friend.
Oh yeah, we should have. We hunted at a game warden's house. A month ago?
Yeah, and Casey was like, hypothetically speaking, if I were to be here without a license, is that illegal?
No, I asked him every question. Dude, I picked up a stick and I was getting ready to throw it at a squirrel's nest that was only 15 feet off the ground. And then Aaron was like, yo, he's like, I think that's actually illegal. So then I asked him, I was like, if I throw this stick at that nest, is that illegal? And he was like, technically it's illegal. He's like, it's a gray area, but it's kind of illegal.
You're just trying to hunt with a primitive weapon. That's it.
No, I think he actually landed on, he goes, the law says you can't shoot it.
He said a projectile.
Basically, I don't think he kind of insinuated that he didn't care if you threw a stick at it.
Yeah, I think he was trying to get me to throw it so he could slap those cuffs on me.
So if I'm shooting squirrels with my slingshot, then I'm illegal for shooting a projectile.
You can't shoot a nest.
Yeah, if you're shooting a slingshot at a squirrel's nest, technically that's illegal. And who doesn't do that, right? Am I right?
Yeah, I've never done a thing like that ever.
No. Pulling a vine is okay.
I've got it on film somewhere. I've actually killed a couple with a slingshot, and I'm like, it's cool for the first second. Then you're like, well, shit. Now the squirrel just falls to the ground, is dead, and the bird lands on it. Like, well, do you still count it? Yeah, technically. I mean, I guess you would count it, but it just kind of takes the wind away from you because you want to see the bird catch it. So
yeah, it's like when my dogs kill a rabbit in a hole, and then they pull it out, and then the bird takes it from them. It's like, I'd rather it run out and the bird grab it.
Right. Yeah.
Than half alive and the bird just lands on it.
Right.
It's annoying. We're also learning that dachshunds going down a hole is also illegal, supposedly.
Huh? I mean, that's what they were bred for, was it not? I mean,
dude, they can kiss my ass, bro.
Who said that?
I was told by a very reliable source that it could possibly be viewed as illegal.
Huh.
Yeah, and you know what I said to him? I said, yeah. I said, come write me the ticket. I'll throw it in the fucking garbage. I mean, where I hunt, it's like you step on a bush and a rabbit runs 15 feet to a hole. So I just don't get to catch rabbits anymore now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
That's
without my dogs, you know what I mean?
What's the difference between a hole and a tunnel going through brush?
Yeah, exactly. That's what somebody said. They said it's like a place. It's like a place of, what is it? Sanctuary? What did they say? I'm like, what is this? Quasimodo?
Sanctuary
like
city.
It's a sanctuary. They get to run into it, and I can't go after them anymore. Like, so what? If they go under a shipping container, I can't put a tape measure under there. Like now, what? The second they go out of sight, I can't reflush them. Like, how does that make sense?
Game warden shows up. You say, "I'm just measuring the."
Yeah,
I'm just measuring under this shipping container.
Put on a hard hat real quick. Just start telling them I'm trying to.
I'm working here.
I'm working here. Yeah, it gets the rules get tricky, but you can't even own a slingshot in New Jersey.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Yeah, I'm dead serious. Like if you go on Amazon, you try to buy a wrist rocket, it's like, this product can't be shipped to your address because it is illegal to possess or something.
So
I'm like,
Dennis the Menace would be going to jail if he was in New Jersey.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
that's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah, you can't have anything in New Jersey.
What's the rationale?
I don't know. But you could break a window. Who knows? Or you could assassinate somebody. Or
I would say, was it back when there were like gangs of kids, like the Little Rascals on bikes, like terrorizing the neighborhood with slingshots, so they outlawed them?
Maybe. Who knows, man? It's just ridiculous, man. Like I said, pro hunting states that are not pro hunting, you deal with all kinds of different things. Jersey tries to make it as hard for you as they can. New York too, to a degree.
You know that North Carolina, I'm 99% sure about this. Hunting is a constitutional right in North Carolina.
Yes, a lot of states have it in their constitution.
Is so, that's something we want nationally.
Yeah, and then we want to try to get falconry added to that too, which I believe NAFA is going to be working on something like that with the new administration, but we'll see how far they get.
Yeah.
I wish them luck. Are you a member of NAFA, Michael?
I was for several years. I've kind of fallen out of it, I guess, here in the past couple of years.
Any reason why?
I mean, not necessarily. I guess just because I don't know. I don't have time to go out west to a meet every year, and nor do I want to drive out there when I've got 1,000 million squirrels here that I can hunt, which is what I enjoy doing anyway. I mean, not to knock it, but I don't care anything about a long wing. I don't care about seeing, one duck get caught and then you're done or whatever. I want to go catch 5-6 squirrels and keep going. And I mean, yeah, it's cool. I would watch it, but I don't know that I would have an interest to, just actually get a falcon and do it. Honestly, I just don't think that's my cup of tea. Not to knock somebody who does like it, but that's all you can really do out there is that, or chase a bunny if you can find one, depending on where you're at.
Yeah, the long winging thing is interesting because I go through like phases. I think it's when my hormones are like out of whack, but
where your T gets low.
When my T dips, I go all of a sudden I start thinking I want a peregrine. I'm like, that'd be kind of cool to catch one duck a month with a peregrine, and then then it spikes back up.
You can always get your pigeon and throw it up, man. So
you can get a long wing, then spend $3,000 on a drone, then another $1,400 on a GPS system, then another for balloons and all this. It seems like an awful lot of work to catch like 10 ducks a year.
You got to buy your Marshall branded. That Cool. Is it Cool?
Yeah.
The brand.
I don't know what
you're talking about. Yeah, I know.
We talk about the sweater that's $450 for like a piece of shit sweater.
Yeah. You got to get that. Yeah, you got to have that. I think it's Cool brand, like KUHL.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's right.
You got to wear a turtleneck. You got to just become a nerd. I don't know. I just feel like the long wing community, like it's just they're so different than us.
I would agree with that.
I think the long wing thing is cool. I've never done it, and we know, all three of us know that this is not the place to fly a long wing. But yeah, if you lived out west and you had sage grouse, you had duck ponds, yeah, why not? I think I would do it. In addition to dirt hawking, like end of the day, that's what I always want to do is dirt hawking. But I can imagine having a goshawk and having a falcon.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. Having a goshawk and a peregrine, and then like you catch a bunch of stuff, and then catch one duck on Saturday, and then catch a bunch of stuff, and then catch another duck on Saturday. It's like that might be kind of fun. I had an idea for a segment with Aaron, but Aaron didn't like it. It was going to be called Guess This Falconer, and basically it was going to be like a Starbucks order, and I would read off the order, and you had to tell me what kind of a falconer it was.
I don't remember this idea.
Yeah, Aaron didn't like it, and I was like, so for example, like
go ahead, black coffee. Play it with Michael.
All right, so black coffee, no sugar, no nothing, just straight black coffee.
A dirt hawker, I would imagine.
That's right. And then it would be like a chai latte with soy milk.
Right, that'd be a long winger.
Sure. Right. Yeah, I thought it'd be funny, but it's like,
all right, Michael. How about this? How about a white monster can full of piss?
Idiot.
Yeah,
that'd be me.
That's a northeastern goshawker.
Yeah.
Get real specific.
Long story, Mike. You got to listen to that episode, the Falconry Follies episode with John Mounier from the Falconry Chronicles.
I've been working through them and trying to listen to a bunch of them. So,
well, don't work too hard.
Well, I mean, I drive a lot for work, so it keeps me entertained. I mean,
So what do you do for the train company? You drive the train?
I worked for the railroad for going on about 18 years. I still am. I still hold a certification, locomotive engineer, and a conductor or foreman, the one who gets out and moves the cars and switches the trains. But I'm actually, my title is a train master and a designated supervisor of locomotive engineers, which is a long title, but pretty much I'm over the logistics of the freight operations and kind of make sure that the trains stay on schedule and make the work orders for the crews and make sure the customers are getting their cars and do efficiency testing and safety testing on the crews and make sure everybody's on their P's and Q's and do check rides with the engineers and ride the train to make sure that they know what they're doing and doing what they're supposed to. And that's kind of it in a gist. I mean, I hold many hats, but just whatever, take the truck to the shop, the crew truck to the shop, get the oil changed and fix a flat, whatever, just whatever needs to be done. But mainly is, making sure that the operation is running smoothly and the trains are moving in a timely manner and all the customers are getting their cars.
That sounds like a very high stress kind of thing. Not the secondary stuff, but like the original stuff you said, like making sure everything's on time. And
I mean, it's with logistics, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely never a dull moment. It's always something going on. That's like, I mean, right now I'm on call right now 24/7 today. So,
You have one day a month where you're on call?
No, I'm on 24/7 coverage every Friday and Saturday. So.
Oh Lord, that's not conducive to partying.
No, I don't have time. I don't have time to party unless I take vacation. It feels like, but.
So, do you go out hawking on those days that you're on call?
Well, I mean, yeah, I could. If everything's running smooth, I mean, I do have a little bit of flexibility. I mean, I'm all over the place. I may be, I may have to leave here after this and go to Charlotte to check on something, if something's going on. But, and I may be at Pinehurst or Aberdeen the next day. So it just depends. I'm all over the place. And, I do have a little bit of flexibility where I can come and go. So I kind of make my schedule and just be where I need to be, do what just make sure it's running like it's supposed to.
That's pretty fascinating. What's the craziest thing have you ever heard of getting hit on the tracks besides a person? Or have you seen any people get hit?
I have. Hell, I've hit 18-wheelers and dump trucks and cows, horses, hogs. The craziest. Well, I mean, I wasn't the craziest, but I remember there was this mallard duck. It was literally this little pond right off the side of the main line, and we're running 50-mile-an-hour down the tracks, and this duck gets up off the pond. It's like 1:00 in the morning, but it's right beside a steel mill industry, and so it's lit up fairly well. And this duck comes up out of the pond and turns straight up, and literally is flying straight up the main line, and it did not move. And we hit it, and it just stuck to the window and then rolled off. And I guess it died. I guess we killed it, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know how fast, because how fast was it flying? We hit it, but we couldn't have hit it that hard, because a duck's got to be able to fly 50 mile an hour. So, was it more like a 5 mile an hour just bump, and it just hit it and stuck to it and rolled off? But I mean, that was kind of crazy.
You ever think of going back to that pond and try to hit that pond later?
Well, I know where it's at, but I mean, ducks are kind of scarce in Alabama. I mean, unless it's a wood duck. I mean, there's plenty of those, but I mean, I used to duck hunt too, but unless you're shooting wood ducks, I mean, you may see an occasional mallard here or there, but I mean, it's just not cold enough, really.
Is it Arkansas that's got the high population of mallards?
Yeah, Arkansas is like the waterfowl capital of the.
Arkansas and anywhere down the Mississippi Flyway through the Delta, you can find them. But most people from Alabama, if they're going to go on an actual duck hunt, they're going to go to Arkansas, somewhere in that area. Yeah,
that's a neighboring state, right? In Arkansas and Alabama.
Well, I mean, you'd have to go through Mississippi all the way to the northern west corner to hit Arkansas. So, I mean, it's close. It's close.
Yeah, I mean, it can be close all at once, but it's like I live in New York, southern New York, and if I drive 2 hours to PA, there's like no ducks. It's dead. There's like 0 ducks. It's bizarre.
I'm not on a flyway where I live, but we'll see buffleheads and mergansers and wood ducks during the migration.
I try to look traveling back and forth, going across the rivers, even up here, but it's been kind of late in the evening or real early in the morning, so the visibility wasn't that great the past few times I've went through. But just to kind of see the difference being this much farther north, just to see what may be sitting out, but hadn't really noticed anything.
I have another question for you. So, like, when you're driving the train, like, are you like? Because I always had this thought as a little kid, like you just push go and the thing just goes. Do you have to, like, when you're making a turn, do you have to like turn the wheel?
Yeah, you gotta steer it, man. No, it don't. No, it's just a throttle. You've got 8 notches on a locomotive, and you just put the power to it 1 through 8, and it's all about what your train's doing and the slack in your train and how much weight you got and where your loads and your empties are. And you just kind of gotta, it's more in depth of thinking versus driving a car. Cause you don't step on the brakes like a car. The train has air brakes on it, like a 18-wheeler does. And, so you charge the brake pipe. So you hook the air hoses up between the cars, and there's compressors on the locomotives, and it starts pumping the air off all the way back to the rear.
So every wheel on the whole train, even if it's like however many long, it all stops.
Yeah. So like a 100-car train, they all have brake shoes on every wheel.
Interesting.
And the brakes stay applied when the air is not on. So if the car is empty, well, I guess it's a little bit more in depth, but if you, what we call bleed the car off, if you there's a valve you could pull, and it would dump the air that's charged in the system, and then there would be no air in it. But you don't do that for certain circumstances. So when you hook all the cars up to the engine, all the brakes would be applied on the car. So as you're pumping that air, you run 90 psi in the brake pipe. So as you're pumping it up with a compressor, as it reaches the first car, the second car, it's pumping and pushing the brakes off, and that's holding the brakes off. So when I'm going to stop, I have to set what's called a minimum reduction. There's steps and processes which draws 6 to 8 pounds of air off. So you hear the air exhausting in the cab of the locomotive, and then the brakes start setting up from the head to the rear again. So you got to kind of keep all that in your head of thinking loads, because loads set up slower than empties do.
Right.
But they release quicker. Empties set up faster and release slower. And you got to kind of think of how your train makeup is, and your hills and whatnot. So because
it's interesting.
If you mess up and you let slack get in the train, so you don't have it stretched out. Think of it like a slinky. And that's when you hear of a train having a wreck or somebody breaking the train in half. It's usually something like that. Somewhere some slack got into the train to where, if you're pulling up a hill and you start to crest it, and maybe you set air at the wrong spot and you don't keep it stretched out because you had some empties in front of the loads and they set up quick, and that allowed those loads to run in a little bit, and then the brakes set up.
I see.
And then if you leave the air set too long, it takes longer to kick off. But the loads release quicker and the empties are still set, and it causes a run out.
Oh, I see.
And that's
so much weight.
Yeah, that's what breaks the knuckles, and it causes a train to get split in half. So, yeah. We used to make fun of people when they do it because, nobody, I mean, that's just in our world. Nobody wants to rip a train in half because you just made the conductor have a shitty day, and now you got to fix it. But, that's kind of, nobody wants to do that,
So it's more involved. So you're not just sitting there, really. You're kind of really thinking about what's going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, some of the bigger railroads, they have, I don't like it though, because it's taken away from the job, and I've been on lines where they do it, but you're not really running the train. You get it going, and then a computer takes over, but the computer can't feel, and it doesn't know. I've seen a lot more trains ripped in half from running some of these GE systems they have that will run it by the signals and the GPS. It won't stop it completely, but it'll get it low, and then once you get it up to 10 mile an hour, it'll take over. But we don't run any of that kind of system on our stuff. It's all on the engineer itself, which and it should be, because you should be paying attention and involved, because that's just my personal opinion on that. But
yeah, it's like AI is taking everybody's job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it sounds like a very stressful thing. I have a bunch more questions about trains and stuff, but I'm not going to ask.
Okay.
I'm just going to keep those to myself because we'll just keep going.
We'll turn this into a train podcast.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Aaron. Anything else?
Well, earlier on when we were talking about the Alabama meet, I seem to recall it's every year somebody catches a cottonmouth down there. Is that true?
Yeah, just about. I mean, I've caught I don't know how many copperheads, cottonmouths, timber rattlers. I don't think I've actually caught an eastern diamondback with a bird, but I've caught several, and that was, I remember when I caught that young timber rattler. I remember being off at the distance, and all I see is like I heard the bell jingle, and I turn, and you see the bird 80 mile an hour, 6 foot off the ground. And you just see leaves go everywhere, and I'm thinking, oh, squirrel. So I go swan dive in there and reach up in there and grab it, and then when I look, it's a timber rattler in my hand. I'm like, well, I got lucky. At least he had the head this time. But so that made me a little cautious at certain times of the year about just barreling on up in there and not looking before I grab.
And in Alabama, you probably have that all season. You could always run into a snake.
Oh yeah, just about. I mean, you don't see them as much in December or January, but you definitely can. I remember we had a bird, one of my buddy's birds got bit bad, and I think it was January one year, huge, probably the biggest water moccasin I've ever seen, and she did not die from it, but the snake did. But that was because we assisted in killing the snake, because it was a bad situation.
Yeah, I've been able to release copperheads relatively unharmed from a red tail. But if it comes down to it, I'm gonna dispatch that snake if it's gonna pose a risk to my bird or to me.
Yeah, that the copperheads don't really worry me as much as a water moccasin does. I remember one day that my buddy John's bird went down on something, and by the time we got up to him, and we weren't that far away, but you know how a baby copperhead, the tip of its tail is chartreuse.
Yeah,
and I remember I was like, well, damn, where's the squirrel at? And then you look up and the bird's sitting there, and you see this little tip of the tail of the chartreuse wiggling out of his mouth, and then he starts pushing it over, and he'd already eaten it that quick before we got there.
Oh my gosh,
Casey, do you know what chartreuse means?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Casey was just nodding his head, going along with it.
It's like chartreuse, bro. Yeah, chartreuse.
Yeah,
I got you.
It's a color of green.
Yes, it's almost like the color of your fletching on your heirs behind you. Like
these guys.
Yeah,
they're chartreuse.
Chartreuse, of course. I picked that color.
great color for crappie fishing. One of my favorite colors.
Yeah, that bow kills big game only.
Yeah.
The baby copperheads, they use that as a little lure. They call it the caudal lure. The little green tip of their tail, the chartreuse tip of their tail. They wiggle it. It looks like a little caterpillar or something.
Yeah.
To catch birds and stuff.
Probably too small for birds, but like frogs, I'd guess. And
yeah, that's what I would think. Yeah.
Yeah, down south is a different world, man, because I just throw my dogs down holes. I stick my arm down there, and down by you guys, I mean, it's like you got to worry about snakes constantly.
Oh, we do that too, but I mean, you got to worry about everything. I mean, gators, they was everywhere. I mean, hell, I ran over a 8-foot gator and cut its head off on the train once. I mean,
Did you go back and get the skull?
I saw it the next day, and there was it was another manager out there or something taking pictures of it, but no, I didn't get it.
Oh, I would have taken that thing home and put some beetles on it.
The world record alligator, if you Google the Stokes gator, it's like 1,040 pounds.
Oh, God.
That gator was caught literally not probably, I don't even think it was a half a mile from my camp house on the river.
No way.
Yeah.
So the river where you lived had gators in it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You see them all the time. You have to be cautious with your dog, with your dogs. I mean, we didn't always hunt up next to the river, but I mean, even that's one thing about gators though. You'd be surprised how far they will travel up into a creek to have a nest and lay their eggs. I mean, there are some places that I went through on a train. There's nowhere close to a river. It's just a little creek in there, and there'd be a 12-foot gator laid on the bank on a nest. And I'm like, why are you here?
Wow.
Because it's crazy.
I got two things I want to say about gators. One, friend of the show, Python Cowboy, who's going to be coming on.
Friend of the show.
He's going to be coming on anytime now. He does that iguana hunting down in canals in Florida all year, and he has that GSP that jumps in the water and retrieves iguanas down there in Florida, southern Florida, in those canals. And I just, for the life of me, do not understand how that thing hasn't gotten smoked by an alligator.
I guess
I don't think they're as aggressive as you think.
Maybe lucky. Maybe the dog is kind of aware of them in the area. I don't know. I mean, I haven't, knock on wood, lost a dog, but I mean, there was times where some hog dogs went missing. But now that could have been the time of a day as well. You know, if you're releasing real early in the morning and they run a hog across a slough or a gut, and the dogs barrel off in there, they're not looking, can't see, and then the gator grabs them. So
the other thing was I had this friend on Facebook who was not into animals, and he would let his dog swim in his little neighborhood pond in Florida. You know, those like how they would build like a drainage pond in the middle of a neighborhood in Florida.
Yeah.
Otherwise it would flood. And I told him, I was like, dude, the alligators love dogs. Like, that's like their favorite food in the world. If they can eat a dog, they will eat a dog. I said, you can't let your dog swim in water in Florida. I think it was, oh, no, there's no alligators in here.
Yeah,
and
right.
To your point, I'm like, alligators travel at night to find new bodies of water for food or territory or whatever. One time I was driving through Florida, and we look off beside the road, and there's this huge like cut through power line area, and we just see this big old 12-foot bull gator just cruising across it. You know, just trekking to some new habitat, new water somewhere. Yeah, and that could be a neighborhood or whatever. So yeah, with dogs, alligators are no joke.
Oh yeah,
they're really no threat to people for the most part, unless you make a really stupid mistake.
Unless you're old.
A little kid or an old person. You hear about old people with dementia wandering into swamps and getting eaten.
Dude, I spent like an hour and a half trying to find that video from like this past summer of that old lady with walking her dog, and the thing came up to grab the dog, and then she like fell over and then grabbed her and brought her in the water, but they blurred it out on somebody's security camera.
You know why it came after? It was the dog.
Yeah, of course.
If it was just her walking, it wouldn't have came after her.
But I couldn't find the video unedited. It pissed me off. Mm. I don't know why. I probably didn't want to see it, but I wanted to see it. You know what I mean?
Was this in response to me sending you the dude snorkeling and the crocodile attacks him?
No, I just stumbled onto it, but it was like you'd see the alligator come out of the water, and then right as it grabs the dog, it gets blurred out, and then you see like the lady's leg, and then you see like her start getting dragged, and then it's like, but it's all blurred. You know what I mean? It's like so annoying. Like I wanted to see it.
If you're friends with me, you may get shared some random video from Indonesia or something of a crocodile eating someone.
Yeah, it's so. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't like seeing the dog ones. They upset me.
Oh, dude.
There's a bunch of people like yelling in some other language, like and then like the dogs just get dragged. You still know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
And then you just see the poor thing get dragged under the water.
And then you hear someone go, "No!"
Yeah, no!
Yeah, I feel bad for the dogs because the poor dogs don't know any better. Those people should know better.
Yeah, and like you see, they're like calling the dog's not listening, and it just gets dragged in. It's terrible.
I saw a drone video from Australia, northern Australia, and the dude was watching a crocodile stalking some feral dogs, and he had the drone. It was like, and it was on the ocean, like beautiful, like blue ocean water. And the crocodile was just like, you could see he had his head down, and he was just slowly creeping in on the dogs. The dogs had no idea he was there. They were just kind of putzing around in ankle deep water. And then he just comes out and smokes one of them. People jumped all over him. They're like, why would you do that? Why would you watch that? Dude, they're feral dogs.
Oh my God. I'm watching a video Michael just sent me. That's
why I like male red tails. That popped up on my feed the other day.
Is he catching an alligator?
No, watch, Aaron. Watch.
Oh wow. Yeah, who needs a goshawk when you got that?
That's amazing. Whose bird was that?
That was County Line, the one that got West Nile, unfortunately. But I appreciate that. I appreciate that guy filming that day. He just happened to throw his phone up, but I was shaking a vine on the pine. Yeah. I would have never saw that view from it without it. So that's kind of one of the reasons I started filming so much, because you can go back and relive it or whatever, even review footage, almost like you're on a football team and you're reviewing a play or something. You're like, man, did the bird have his foot on that squirrel or did he miss it or what happened? And you slow it down and look at it. I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes Jackie and I get in debates about that. So I'll zoom in and slow it down and say like, yep, I was right. You're wrong.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
No, I love reliving. That's part of the same thing. That's why I started filming in the first place. It's still why
you do it for the content, dude.
Dude, I've been filming forever. It's so fun. You get to go back and look at it, man. My only regret is not filming like when I was younger.
Yeah, that's one of my regrets as well. That, and then, like not making the video and maybe making it into a YouTube video, or either having it to where, because and now it's easier to when you change your phones, you can upload to the cloud or whatever. And back then, like I've lost some stuff that I wish I wouldn't have lost. That was pretty good stuff.
Yeah, you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah. I hadn't posted it, and I hadn't made a video. I've got, and that's the thing. It's just been so busy moving this past year, but I filmed a pretty good bit last year, and I keep saying I'm going to make at least a highlight video from last year. But
what's your YouTube channel? I can't type in your name, obviously, because the other guy comes up.
Yeah, you just type in the Squirrel Hawker.
I think I follow you.
Michael, what's coming up for you? What's next? As far as I'm assuming, are you more or less done with other hunting, or are you solely focused on falconry from here on out?
Well, some people would call me crazy for moving up here because, I left, like I have to start over and build up, acreage and land access. I probably had access to 100,000 acres back home just by friends of family, but just over the years, so many people can't get enough of this shit, honestly. And they're like, please come back. I'm not saying I could go to this access, every day without talking to them. There's people that I would need to call and let them know I was coming, but a lot of people said, come whenever you want. You're not hurting anything. Like, that's fine. And we just had so much access. And that's one of the things that was great, because I'm sure y'all have noticed, like let's just say squirrels, for instance, or hogs or anything. If you hunt the same place all the time, they're going to run. There were some spots. There was a spot I had in Camden, that was not far from my house. It was on the edge of the city limits, and it was a 40-acre square block of young hardwood. And a guy said, I got a lot of squirrels, come kill them. The first time I ever went hunting there, never seen the property. I think, and I may be wrong, but I think I went from a single, just a single kill to straight to a quad. I killed. We took 4 with my bird, and then we put John's bird up, and he caught 3. And the only reason we stopped is because we run out of daylight. So we took 7 squirrels away in an hour and a half from that property on a whim to go check it out one day after work.
That's awesome.
I think there's never more seen squirrels farther south.
But now, if you go back to that property now, they don't stop running. If they will not stop. If they can't find a hole to get into or a nest, they will run and run and run, just like a hog would. They just keep going. So it's like a greyhound. We call them Alabama greyhound there. They just go. So
annoying.
Alabama greyhounds.
Yeah. So it's nice to have places to swap up. That way you're not keeping so much pressure on the game constantly, and it's just. But not everybody has that. Not everybody has the opportunity to do that either. So.
Well, I'm sure they could learn from something from you, and it does help being from the area and having family connections and all there. That's good. But if you go up to somebody's door and respectfully ask, you you got to shoot your shot or you're not going to get permission, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, shoot, we found access one day, and that's crazy because social media, there's no reason you can't find it. Jackie got on year before last. Jackie got on Nextdoor on that neighborhood app and just made a post about, hey, looking for land access, to hunt my bird. And some lady saw it, and then her husband called us. He had I think it was a 1,200 acre quail preserve that it was a lot of pines, planted pines for the quail preserve, but it was a lot of hardwood creek bottom too. And I mean, that easy making a post, and we got a hell of a spot out of it. So don't be afraid to ask, because I mean, what are the worst they can say is no. I mean,
right.
Yeah. I have trouble asking for permission, but I got permission on a sweet property, amazing property, a property that I've already been hitting. But anyway, me and Paul were driving through, and they were doing construction in there, and all the big fancy trucks were in there. And it was like a Saturday or something, during work hours. I saw the guy walking to his truck. He had a clipboard. I said, that guy looks important. I said, Paul, what do you think we just go ask permission? He goes, yeah, why not? So we run right up to the guy. He goes, oh, I'm not in charge, but the head architect is in the building. We get a full tour of the state-of-the-art architectural firm. They bought out like this huge old, I'm not going to say what it is because people could triangulate and steal it. This huge old, they switched from one type of utilization to another, and they're going to turn it into this very fancy Airbnb place with restaurants and cafes and stuff. He gave us a full tour, and he said, yeah, just whenever you want, go back there. And there's rabbits everywhere and squirrels. And that's all it was. It was just us one day saying, yeah, let's just go ask. And the guy was super cool. Didn't even care. Didn't want to see anything. He just wanted to show us around the building. Yeah. And then after that, he goes, yeah, just park up over on the edge there, and you could have whatever you want. All big fields with brush and vines and nests and the whole thing to ourselves. It's surrounded by water on all three sides. Yeah. It has nowhere for anything to go. It's just there. So just stuff runs around in circles. It's perfect.
Yeah.
The trade-off was you had to endure the tour of the facility.
Well, it was because Paul's a very good builder, even though he doesn't build for a living. But I'm in the trades myself, so the stuff he was showing us was pretty fascinating. We did state-of-the-art like radiant heating systems, and kept the old like 200-year-old, not 200, it was like 100 and something year old like roof line. They kept it, they refurbished it, they stained it, and they put these big convectors in that they hid them to preserve how it looked, so it stayed old. It was super sweet. Yeah, it was cool. It was a nice building.
Sounds nice. I do think the listeners could figure out where it is. So that's my challenge. No. That's my challenge to you guys out there listening. Find out what he's talking about. You know where he lives. Find out. Get the word out that it's a great rabbit spot.
No, nobody knows where I live. They think they know where I live, but they don't know where I live. Especially the people that. Well, we didn't really let the listeners know, but we can let them know now that I was dealing with a death threat, like a credible one, where they texted my phone and said they're gonna, pull me out of my bed and kill me and my family in the lawn and the whole 9 yards. And I sent it to a couple falconers that are police officers. I said, what do you think about this? And they said, I doubt they have your real address. They're probably just looking at another address. But you should make a report anyway, just in case they show up and you gotta put a hole in them. So I went down, made the police report. This was like 2 months ago. And the cop calls me on the phone, the tech. He's like, now there's detectives and then there's like cyber detectives now. So he calls me on the phone and he's like, yeah, okay. So we found them. They live in Michigan. He goes, I really don't think they're a threat. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, I just went through their Facebook. And I said, what's their names? He gives me the names. I look up. I said, real heavy set girl, cats in the background. He goes, yeah, that's her. And he's like, oh, and this is her husband. We don't know if it was the husband or the wife. We're figuring it out. And I go, yeah, okay. They look like they're made of Play-Doh. And I'm like, all right, and but I was dealing with that. So now he's building the case and they're going to get arrested now.
Good.
And I'm going to vlog the whole thing for my channel.
Good.
Yeah. All because my dog killed a squirrel.
Well, you can't go around making death threats against people and hide behind the internet.
No, they changed their phone number. They had to subpoena the website that changed their number, and so they went through that, got that, then found the number, then found the IP address, then went to track the house down. So now they're just slowly building the case. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid. I know who they are now, so like part of me wants to just get on a freaking plane and go up there, bang on the front door. Whatever.
That is crazy.
Michael, you ever deal with anything like that? People getting crazy?
Oh yeah, man. I've had shotguns pulled on me at work from drunk people. I've had I was actually shot with a pellet rifle while I was switching an industry one day. A little kid shot me with it wasn't a Daisy Red Ryder BB gun. It lodged 2 inches inside the meat of my arm, and I had to go get it dug out. They had to deaden it and take an 18 gauge needle and dig it out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, where I was hanging, it hit me right under the elbow here, hanging on the side of a boxcar. So, I mean, at the angle, it could have hit me in the head, put my eye out or something. But
why'd he shoot you?
I don't know, kid with a BB gun, and let me see if I can hit that guy. There were some other people standing out there too, so it could have been a dare, but he definitely got me.
And what happened? He just ran away?
Yeah, because it took me a second to figure out what happened. And I look down, I see my arms bleeding, and I tell the engineer at the time, and I get the train back together, and he pulls up to the depot. Wasn't but about a mile and a half away, and I walk up, and it swole up, and we had to go to the hospital to get it dug out. And the craziest thing was it counted as a human factor incident. The way our incidents go, and it went on me as a human factor incident, even though I had nothing to do with it, and I lost my bonus that year from that.
Oh God!
If you can believe that, swear to God, man, swear to God, it hung on because every year they'll hang a file on the wall that says human factor incidents and what happened, and it said gunshot elbow and had my name beside it, and I mean, literally, I literally did nothing wrong. I was just doing my job, and didn't even know the people were back there, and got shot with a BB gun, and I lost my bonus from it. So,
are you in the union? That sounds like something your rep could handle for you.
Yeah, we were union at that company, but no, they nothing they could do about it. It was just crazy, I mean, I don't even know what to say at some point. It's just like, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, really? Yeah. So, yeah, that's crazy. It is.
So, going back
ahead.
to, I'm sorry, Michael. Going back, I'd asked about what's next, and I think we kind of got off track, but I get what I'm picking up is that you're currently looking for property. Is that what's?
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to build up property. Obviously, there's some public land access and whatnot, and I mean, I still enjoy hunting, and fishing and doing other things as well. I mean, I grew up, deer hunting, turkey hunting. I mean, pretty much anything that moved, there was a season I did it. So, yeah, I mean, I would like to, deer hunt up here as well. So, kind of looking into that and options, and just kind of trying to start over and build up some access up here as well.
Yeah, I'm going to get back into deer hunting this year. It's to harvest just a couple, maybe, early season before falconry kicks off.
Yeah, it's good eating, man. I really like the meat, and I grew up on it, and I kind of miss it now, not having it. So
right,
definitely, yeah.
All right, man. Well, is there anything else you feel like we need to add?
Well, I was just thinking earlier of other things to talk about, and we don't have to go too far into it. But I was just thinking, maybe somebody that was out there listening. Is there? I was going to ask you what's going through your head when you're let's say squirrel hawking, like what are you thinking about when you're walking through the woods, as far as like thinking about what the animal's doing and trying to predict its movements and what, because like I have a method to my madness when I hunt. And a lot of people probably think, well, this guy's just walking through the woods. I don't know if everybody's on the same page or not, and I thought maybe some, at least somebody new starting off, like because I really study the bird, like I'm sure you can do the same thing, as far as like just by the way the bells ring on his legs or whatever, you can what the bird's doing, whether it's laddering up or if it's just turning or whatnot. But is there a method to your madness when you're walking through the woods?
Yeah, I think that squirrels and rabbits are poorly understood. I think that we've got deer and turkey figured out pretty well, but squirrels and rabbits, you go to a spot that's perfect and there's nothing there and you wonder why. You got the food source there, you got water, you got everything, but you're not seeing anything. And then you might go back and see squirrels and the conditions might be the exact same, more or less. So I think there's a lot that we don't know about squirrels, about small game in general. But yeah, it's to answer your question, I think for me, I'm trying to figure out what the squirrels are going to be doing that particular day with the current weather. So if it's a warm day, they're probably, and especially a warm, still day, they're just going to be out doing their thing, right?
Yeah.
But a windy day, we know you're probably not even going to see any squirrels.
Right.
You might get lucky and see a squirrel, but you're probably not going to see anything. And then a real cold day, they might be down in their drays, or they could be sunning up in the tops of trees. So yeah, I'm always thinking about it. I'm definitely not somebody who just stumbles around through the woods without any kind of plan or thought.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same way. Just I guess gun hunting for a while before I ever got into falconry. I mean, walking through the woods. I mean, like you said, you wonder why sometimes maybe there's no squirrels in this particular spot, because there should be water and a food source there. The only thing I think about that is we know squirrels will travel for a pretty good distance, so they may not have moved back into that area. The food source may have dried up per se, and they may have had to move out a ways, and they haven't moved back in the area. Because that's one thing I've noticed as far as like the acorn harvest. Usually the acorns are dropped twice a year, but if it's a bad drought, they may drop really early, and then later in the season, the acorns are gone. And well, if I notice that, I'm always looking for fresh signs of digging, looking for caches if there's something still there, or if I notice that there's no acorns on the ground, I'm going to look to move towards some of the mixed timber with pines, because they're always pine seeds in a pine tree, so you could see the cuttings is what we call them. They'll sit up there and cut the cone, and you'll see just looks like a corn cob, just what's left laying there by the tree. You can tell if it's fresh or not, and that's kind of what I tend to look for. And if I know that the acorn harvest was not that great this year, or if they dropped quick or whatever on the second dropping of the acorns, I'll tend to look for some oaks that are close to some, like a body of pines, and usually I can find them. And then like walking through the woods, like just kind of studying the squirrels and what they do and their body language. I'm sure you're aware of this as well, but when you're walking into the woods and you see a squirrel, there's a squirrel there. If the squirrel is on your side of the tree, when you walk up, that's why we want the bird to follow. That's why I want the bird to follow me anyways. I can't speak for everybody else, but that squirrel's going to rotate 180 degrees away from you and get on the back side of the tree. So I know if I walk past that squirrel, the squirrel then is going to rotate another 180 degrees back on the opposite side, the original side that it was on. And then the bird has a better chance of seeing it if it hadn't already seen it. So, just stuff like that, maybe that's something that could, help out somebody new starting out. If they, I know there's a lot of falconers who got into it and they didn't have much hunting experience before. So, that's definitely
I think
stuff.
A lot of falconers lack that field craft that you've got, that you picked up from gun hunting, a lifetime of hunting. A lot of falconers, it's their first foray into hunting, and so they've only been hunting for a few years, and it's been with a hawk.
Right.
But what you're talking about, really, I've had a really hard time nailing down like my feelings exactly on it, because a lot of really good falconers give me shit about it. The hawking squirrels in parks and public places. And when I say parks, I don't mean like a state park. That's essentially wilderness. I mean, when you pull in and there's picnic tables or frisbee golf and trails, and you're hunting squirrels in those areas. I'll do some of that to get a bird started, and on occasion, like even with a made bird, on occasion I'll go there with a friend or something like that, just because we don't have time, or we don't have something else lined up. But I think if that's the bulk of your falconry, you're really missing out on the experience. But it's not really it's what I want out of falconry. It's not huge. So maybe if you just, all you want is easy, you want to see 1 million squirrels, you don't care where it is, you don't care the conditions, that's fine. Knock yourself out. But for me, I like the adventure. I like the woodcraft. I like getting out there and thinking about things and seeing wild places. I don't want to go there and see people playing frisbee golf while I'm hunting.
Right.
What do you think about that?
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I tend not to do that. I mean, a squirrel's tough either way you look at it. They can do some amazing things to get away. I've got a lot of respect for a squirrel. Even though I enjoy taking them, but it's something about like a manicured park area. It doesn't necessarily feel like hunting to me. But if there's only one tree every so often, it doesn't. And the squirrel has to bail out and run away from the hawk, and it really has no cover to go to. It's not as exciting to me because it's not giving the squirrel as much of a chance, I guess, in a way. It's where if you're just naturally in the woods, just seeing the full chase from tree to tree, bail out, whatever. That's just what I enjoy. I mean, not trying to knock that really too much, but it doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like hunting to me is as much.
Right. I don't know. It's kind of like, imagine going out into the hiking out on the ridges out in Wyoming to shoot an elk, or shooting an elk in a national park.
Right.
What would feel better? What would be more exciting? What would be more interesting? That's the way I see it. Now, that's not to say, like I'd said earlier, I prefaced all that by saying I will on occasion hit a park or something like that if the occasion calls for it, but it's not my cup of tea. And I think if that's the bulk of your falconry, you're missing out on what we should aim to be doing.
No, I agree. I agree 100% with that.
There's a lot of new falconers who that's all they've seen, because I've noticed that's become one of the more common places you see people hunt.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's you can't be scared to ask for permission, and if that's all you're doing is, and it's because it's a lack of I mean, to me, if you're going to be a falconer, you should already probably have some type of access for the game that you're wanting to hunt before you even become a falconer. You should already be working on that. And if I mean, at the end of the day, if it's because you're scared to ask, or I guess I could understand a little bit more. Like if you're just really, for some reason, if there's no public land close by, or if you really just don't have the access, you maybe just move there, or you've never hunted before and you haven't built up your property. But I don't think you should continue to do that because, like you said, I feel like you're kind of missing out on really what's getting down to the core of what's so special to me, being in the woods and in the deep woods and hunting in the natural environment. That's what's it's a lot more to me. It's a lot more amazing chases that happen that way.
Right.
So,
yeah, in a manicured place, there's probably not going to be any deadfall. There's probably not going to be those snags. They're going to remove all that. It's going to be a clean environment. Sure, there might be some healthy trees that have holes in them, but yeah, I don't know. It's just, I guess it's pretty lame as far as I'm concerned. I know that sounds kind of mean, but it's just.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I mean, I agree 100% with that. I don't particularly care to do that. I mean, yeah, just moving here. I mean, we haven't hunted in a park, and we just moved here. But I mean, if I had to for a little bit, I mean, I guess I would do it. But I can usually come up with some access somehow. Because I mean, just don't be afraid to ask.
Right. Yeah, I think I've told Casey before, if it came down to it and my options were hawk in a park or don't hawk at all, I'd be hawking in a park.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I prefer wild places, and I don't consider parks that.
Right. No, I agree. I agree 100%. I don't tend to care for it, which I guess maybe, and that's one of the reasons why, because I mean, where I'm from, there weren't any parks like that. I mean, it's just, rural area. So I wouldn't really know how to act in one anyway. It just,
right.
It kind of makes you feel like it's easy pickings or something in a way, So.
Yeah. Well, Casey has argued before the squirrels still act like squirrels when a hawk's chasing them. And that's true, but they don't necessarily act like squirrels when you approach and they don't know there's a hawk there, or they don't quite deal with you the same way a wild squirrel would out in the woods that has never laid eyes on a human.
Yeah, they may think you're the little old lady with the bag of peanuts coming to feed it again.
Yeah, who knows?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. You bring that up. That's kind of like the art of squirrel hawking.
Yeah.
Which I think squirrel hawking, and it's been said many times before, but squirrel hawking is underappreciated form of falconry.
Yeah. I agree. I think. I mean, you can't. I don't think you can truly be a squirrel hawker without truly respecting the squirrel, because that's a tough animal. Something that can jump from a 10-story building and hit the ground running 100 miles an hour and not lose its breath, and just the lengths that animal will go to live is amazing to me. I have the utmost respect for them. It's a love-hate relationship, I guess.
Yeah, I think that you should have respect for what you're chasing and an admiration for what you're chasing.
Right. Yeah.
Without that, I don't know, it just kind of changes the nature of what we're doing.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Well, I certainly appreciate the love you have for squirrel hawking, and I've fallen back in love with red tails. I took several years off of flying red tails, but I came back to it this year, and I just fell in love with the red tail that I had that met an untimely end, and I'm planning on next year. I'm not sure what a day doesn't go by that I don't think about when I'm going to trap another red tail, but it's like you kind of miss if you don't get those early birds before they've dispersed or died of starvation or been hit by a car or electrocuted, you miss out on a bunch of birds if you wait.
Right. Yeah.
At least down here, I feel like I don't know that we get a lot of migratory birds here, but I know we do have a lot of young that fledge from nests. And I feel like if you don't get a bird in September, maybe even late August here, you miss out on the bulk of birds.
Right.
And I really hate getting a bird that early because, you could have that bird ready to hunt in a couple weeks, but the season hasn't started and it's hot and miserable. So I don't know. I'm probably going to start looking for red tails when the trapping season opens. And if I see a really nice one, I don't think I'm going to be able to turn it down.
Right.
What's your take on that? Trapping an early red tail?
I've had some early birds before. I mean, I don't mind it if I can get out and get hunting pretty quickly with them. I mean, it seems like sometimes if you get one early, you're gonna have to have some more experience, giving the bird more experience as far as like it wouldn't be as seasoned as it would be, as a later trap bird. So you've got to help throw some of those experiences in front of it. Like it may not be as a seasoned, or hell, maybe it's not even chased a squirrel yet, or who knows in that situation. But it's
Do you think it's in their blood, in their DNA to chase squirrels?
maybe like a true East Coast bird, maybe to an extent. Because I've seen them do it in the wild, but then like I've had a few friends that's went out west and trapped or whatever, and it seems like it takes a little bit to get them going on squirrels because they haven't seen them as much. So I mean, I think the local birds that I've always trapped, I've had pretty good success with squirrels especially, and I've seen the proof in the pudding from the bites and stuff on some of them that I've taken. So I think it's in their DNA. I mean, I know they like to sit high and look down, and you got to train them to look up. But I don't believe there'd be many that a squirrel around here could run out in front of in the wild. They wouldn't go after it. At least a gray. I mean, obviously a fox squirrel. Maybe a male would be a little hesitant on that because most of the males I've flown, they've always tended to be hesitant on a fox.
Yeah, I haven't ran into many fox squirrels. Where you guys live currently, you might start to see fox squirrels, but
I've already picked out 2 solid melanistic ones.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
that's cool. And they're right there where y'all live.
Well, it's close. It's about 30 minutes south of here where I've seen both of them at. But and we had them back home too, but they were kind of like in pockets and patches here and there. You'd run into a group of them and then you wouldn't see them. So it just kind of depends on the area, really. Yeah,
different habitat needs, as you know.
Yeah.
They need more specific things, I've found, than gray squirrels.
Yeah, and then I've had a couple of spots that I've hunted before, which was kind of strange. I'd never seen that anywhere else, but that one spot, it was in what you would just assume was just like a gray squirrel habitat, just in some oaks and whatnot, and you'd shake a vine and there'd be a nest or a hole, and you'd hit the tree, and a fox squirrel and a gray squirrel would run out of the hole. And
whoa, that's cool.
I've never seen that before anywhere else other than that one spot.
North Carolina, we've got some pretty fox squirrels. Yeah. I don't know about Alabama, but here you got red ones, you got black ones, you got kind of orangish ones. Then you got some that just look like gray squirrels, but they're the size of a monkey.
Yeah, we had we had the more traditional fox squirrel that were kind of the orangest tone, and then we had the ones that looked like just a big ass eastern squirrel.
Casey's back. He got disconnected.
Yep, I was completely disconnected. I'm actually using my phone as a hotspot. My internet doesn't want to work.
So we got into the art of squirrel hawking. Casey.
Oh, sweet! I love that.
That's what we need to ask Casey. What's going through his head when he's facing a squirrel?
What's going through my head?
What's your what's your process when you're walking through the woods? What are you thinking about? Like what the squirrel's doing? Or are you just walking through the woods casually? We were talking about like kind of if, maybe somebody's new to squirrel hawking or falconry in general, like, somebody looking at me walking through the woods, be like, what's this idiot doing? He's just walking, or is anything going on in his head?
It's a good question. Really, that's the only thing going through my head is kill. No, I'm just kidding. No, it depends on my mood. If I'm tired, I'll just like walk through and shake saplings and stuff. But no, I'm usually pulling every vine I see, trying to look for nests, trying to look for, areas that are thick on a tree, like where I can't tell, like with multiple vines going up, something thick, there's a bunch of brush, maybe a blow down up against a tree. I'm trying to make something happen, move stuff, just get the squirrel to make some sort of movement so the bird can cue into it, pretty much.
I'm glad you said that. You said shake every vine.
Yeah, no matter what,
see.
pretty much, because you never know.
That there's nothing that pisses me off worse than watching somebody walk by a perfectly good vine just because it's not a nest there, or even if the squirrel's not in that tree, you can still move the damn squirrel by shaking a tree beside it. And it's like sometimes people, it just doesn't register that like, well, maybe I can make something move by shaking every vine. But you'd be surprised how many people I've hunted with that they'll walk right past a vine and won't shake it unless they see something.
I won't be surprised.
Casey hawks with some lazy ass people.
Yeah. No, and it's like just pulling a vine isn't always good enough because sometimes that vine doesn't have enough slack. So you could try to give it a whip, and then you could try the good one that I do that's actually a pretty good percentage if there's a squirrel there is the lift it up and then drop it, or lift it and pull it, like create slack.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of little things you can do. But I'll sometimes launch sticks up and stuff. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, but don't pull so hard that you're gonna pull the vine down, because then you won't have it for the next time.
Yeah, I've been guilty of that.
Yeah,
I've
had that happen a few times, but I've tried to finesse it to where I don't do that. Sometimes you kind of get in that mode and you're just like, I'm going to pull the tree down, I guess. So.
Yeah, you just keep going and going and going. Yeah, that was me the other day. I had one the other day. It was so awesome. It was we didn't move anything for like an hour, and I pulled this vine. I couldn't even see if there was a nest. It was like a little sap, like a pine, but it was like maybe 20 feet tall, but it was super thick in there. And I pulled that thing, and the squirrel immediately bailed from the top of the tree. And then the bird was out of position. She came whipping through, landed low, and then Ginger almost caught it, went up the tree into another tree that I already pulled that I knew didn't have any holes in it. I knew it didn't have a nest in it. It was just real thick vines. So I knew we could get it out of there. So Ginger had it pinned. So then I pulled the vine again. I'm not even joking. Another one jumps right out, lands right in the ground, the same spot.
Yeah.
So then I ran over to that tree and started getting it to move. And then the one ran down the trunk right past Ginger, ran on the ground. Bird missed it. Landed like on the ground and like went underneath like a bunch of sticks and branches and kind of stood there because this bird's just idiotic. And then the other one thought he was slick and he came out over my shoulder, and then she saw it, and then it was literally like a chase. And this is like a thicket. It's not really a thicket. It's I don't know what you would call it. It was basically saplings and vines that were no more than 15 feet tall, but like 100 yards.
That sounds like a thicket to me.
I guess, but I was like at certain points I was like going underneath stuff like on my stomach, and the bird would miss and then just like be like hanging up there because she just missed, and the thing is going above my head and I'm running trying to keep it up, and then finally this was a good technique and I'd never done this before. It gets into the sapling and the bird is back up like all the way back, but I see her and it goes to jump, gets in this little sapling and sets its feet like it's about to jump, and right when it's about to jump, I grab the sapling and I shake the sapling, and it pushes off, and it just lands right on the ground, and then the bird comes in and like sliding into home plate. She slides in on the ground and freaking smokes it right under my feet under a log.
Yeah.
And it was so sweet. It was so awesome. That was just the other day.
I had one last year. I remember the squirrel bell from a taller pine to a smaller, probably like a 5-inch sapling or whatever. And just instinctively, I was running with the squirrel, and I had the phone filming in my hand, and I just lean into the tree and put my shoulder into it, almost like I'm going to tackle it. And it whiplashes the squirrel out of the top of the tree, and it starts rolling end over end, and the bird catches it midair. Now, I wasn't able to, because I hit the tree so hard with my shoulder, I wasn't able to get it on film, but you could see, I was holding my phone down, you could see it hit the squirrel, the hawk hit the squirrel on the ground, but I got to see it, and I was like, man, I wish I could have got that on film. That was cool as shit, And
you need a GoPro.
Yeah. Well, I've got one now that I've just had I don't know, the old ones kind of had that fisheye effect, I guess, in a way. You couldn't really see a lot, but I've got one. I've got one now. So
the GoPro is good because you can have it on your head or your chest, and then you can be hands free.
Yeah,
you can grab stuff and do what you got to do, but it's hard when you're squirrel hawking to film because you got to be involved a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I take a glove, but if you watch some of those videos, I mean. I reach in and grab the squirrel barehanded a lot just because I don't have time to put it on, but I can't feel and do what I need to do with my phone with the gauntlet on or whatever. So, which, sometimes you get bit. That's just part of it, I guess.
Yeah. That must be a Southern thing. Cause I don't usually grab squirrels barehanded.
I grab them barehanded all the time.
Well, I mean,
if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough.
I trust the bird. You got to trust the bird. I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily do it with the first year bird because I may get a little footy, but the bird's not going to grab you on purpose. It may be repositioning his footing, and you may get grabbed, but it's probably not even going to break the skin. I mean,
I love the feeling of a live squirrel with my bare hand. I love
it. Get you going. How long, Michael? I've noticed this. It's kind of hard to tell, but like that squirrel I was chasing, I've seen it in the past. Like you chase it, like squirrels, they get gassed pretty quick. Am I the only one who's noticed that? If you chase, maybe the southern ones just keep going, but I've noticed up here, man.
Not down here, they don't. Not at least not in Alabama. Them bitches are run forever.
I think compared to rabbits, they do. Rabbits can run forever.
Well, I don't know. It may be I'm crazy, but one thing I've noticed is, in my opinion, a squirrel always has 3 exits. If you notice, a squirrel knows which hole it's running to when it leaves one. I mean, it may be a hole at the base of this tree over here, or it may be a nest here, but you can watch them and you can almost predict if you're paying attention to the area and looking, they always have 3 escapes.
They're like
3
Jason
routes.
Bourne.
Yeah, I swear. I mean, in my opinion, I swear they always have 3 exits. And
100%.
And then that's when you really make them panicky, though. Once you push them and block off those exits, that's when they run. It's like they don't necessarily know where to go then. They just keep running into a nest way the hell over here. And most of the time you look out and you catch it before it makes it. But sometimes, obviously it'll still make it. So,
yeah, it's a safe bet to just try to cut the squirrel off. And wherever he's trying to go, try to get out in front of him and get him to go back the other direction. I think that's just like, you should, if you see a squirrel running or he has a direction in mind that he's going,
you got to cut him off.
You got to cut him off. Like you got to get out and
either
don't worry about the bird.
Yeah, you or the bird's got to cut him off, or he's going to keep going.
Yep, you got to stop him. You got to get to the base of the tree because you may not know if there's a hole at the bottom of the tree, but he's going somewhere. So you got to just stay with that squirrel and just keep watching him. You get stuff in your eyes and shards of bark and stuff, but you got to cut that sucker off because they always have a plan, man. Rabbits too, they always got a plan. They're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Michael, what's the worst injury you've ever had squirrel hawk? You personally, not your bird.
Maybe shaking. Well, I mean, I've almost been knocked out before just by shaking a vine and not paying attention. And well, we call them widowmakers. You got to watch out for the, like the dead limbs hanging in there. I've been close. I remember one day I got really, really winded. I had been shaking this vine and just like we'd been running hard all day, and I had to catch my breath. And then I just picked up, and there was this dead sapling over here. That's well, I say a sapling. It's a little bit bigger than sapling, and I just stopped to prop up and rest on it, and the top broke out and popped me in the head, and I was seeing stars from it. But at the same time, when that top broke out, 3 squirrels ran out of it. My bird caught one of them. So at the end of the day, it wasn't that bad, But yeah. And then, how do y'all feel about if you say it's a nest or a hole, and say two squirrels run into it? Are you gonna move on if you catch one of them, or are you gonna throw your bird back up and try to catch the other one too?
I'm gonna do everything I can to catch the other.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to catch the other, depending on where the hole is.
Yeah. Well, I got a video on YouTube. It's called 2 Squirrels, 1 Hole. And that's why I told Jackie we were hunting her bird Shiv that day, and I remember it. And she's like, "All right," and I was like, "Oh, where are you going?" I said, "Throw her ass back up there. We're gonna catch that one too. I'm gonna get it out of there. It's gonna come out because the vine was just perfect, and we got it out." But
how do you? What's your technique to get a squirrel out of a hole?
Well, I have climbed a tree before and pushed the nest out, or if it wasn't like a huge tree, just get up, because you may not could shake a tree that well, but you climb up about 10 foot and you got 260 shaking on the side of that thing, it'll start whipping then, and you can get them to come out. Anything. I mean, I've heard people talk about this or that. I've never had to, but I'm not saying I wouldn't, but like you can make a fire and smoke them out, or
smoke bombs. I heard that.
Yeah.
We're gonna sell branded Sporting Chance smoke bombs.
Yeah. I tried it one time with like because they make plumbing smoke bombs.
Yeah.
And I think they got wet in my bag because I tried it and it wouldn't smoke, and I was trying it. So, but yeah, man, like you said earlier, like being like I don't know how you described it. You said like being like blacked out when you're hunting, like where you're just like, dude, I'll do almost anything to get a squirrel out of a hole.
Well, and there's another thing you can do, especially if it's say the bird wounded a little bit or something, and it gets in a hole. You can I call it squirrel fishing, but you can take a green sapling, get a long one, and right on the end of it, have it to where it's got a little fork in the end of it. And if you get it up in that tree to the squirrel, you start spinning that stick real fast, and it'll catch its tail and wind its tail up in the fork, and you can pull it out. So that's a way to get an animal. Because I've done it before with live ones, but we had one that got wounded and it died in the hole, and I was able to get the stick in there and wrap the tail up, and it wasn't a waste. It wasn't a wasted squirrel, but we call that squirrel fishing in Alabama. So
yeah, I think I heard, who was it? Jeff. I watched Jeff Fincher do that on a video.
Yeah,
with a greenbrier or something. He shoved it up there. Yeah. I've never successfully done it. I've tried a billion times, but I've never been able to. Some of the crevices, man, they just keep going, man. You can put a 10-foot sapling up those things, and it just you just keep going, and then you stick your fingers in there, and you start trying to flick it up so it smacks it. But I don't know, man. When a squirrel's in a hole, they know they're safe, man. You got to really do something to get them out of there.
The money is when you can hear them growling in there. Then they're not very far.
Yeah. And then like a ground hole, like how far are you willing to go? I mean, I've literally, I don't carry one, but Jackie carries I bought her it's a railroad spike driver handle. It's a hickory, looks like a bat. It's heavy. I don't want to lug it around. She leaves it half the time. I got to go back and get it. But I know squirrels don't like the vibrations and the loud noise, but me personally, I can find a stick laying in the woods, just pick it up and use it if I needed to. But it's come in handy. I've had a rotten tree that there was a hole, and I could take that hickory axe handle, and I've literally beat that tree and opened the hole to where the squirrel had to run out. We've caught the squirrel. I mean, anything's possible if you just get creative. Or I've even used that handle, turned it upside down, like a figured out kind of how far the hole went back in the ground where the squirrel was. If the ground's soft enough, you could just drive that handle in the ground like a spike, and it'd scare them out, or dig the hole up. I mean, I spent one day. Jackie was not going to leave without coming home with that squirrel. It pissed her off, and she got mad. And I probably spent 45 minutes digging that hole up with a axe handle, but we got it out, and it caught it. But man, I didn't know if I was going to make it back to the truck that day. It was hot, but yeah. I mean, it's all it's all about how much you want it. If you really want to catch it or not. And
so, Michael, you don't bring a stick with you in the woods?
Nah, no. It's just something extra to carry.
I think that's an essential squirrel hawking tool.
No, I agree. I agree. Jackie carries hers, so I can use hers if I need to, but I don't. I've usually got a filming in one hand, and it's just something else to keep up with. But I like I said, I'll pick up a stick and beat a tree with it or whatever. But I mean, really, I like vines. I like shaking vines, and that's just
I don't care. I don't bring a stick with me. I'll just lose it. I've tried all that.
I end up losing. I lose them here and there, but I always try and have an ironwood stick.
I mean, if I'm not hunting, if I'm like if I'm hunting with somebody else and it's their turn to hunt, I ain't taking nothing but my phone and my arms. I'll beat the tree or whatever. I probably won't even take a glove. I'll reach in if I need to and grab it. But that's just, I don't know. But why I am the way I am. I guess that's the easiest way to say it. But I did think of something. One other thing. What all kind of crazy stuff have you seen? I was going to bring up this experience, and see if y'all have anything like this. But last it was either last year or the year before. Jackie's apprentice. He's an older guy. He's a general now. But we had went out and we trapped a bird, and for him, and it looked like it was going to be a good bird, and it did end up being a good bird. But all of a sudden, the bird started acting weird. He sent a video to us, and it looked like the bird was stargazing, and we didn't know what was wrong. Took it to the vet. That they didn't know at the time. They had taken blood and was waiting on the results to come back, and the guy Chris, he just mentioned, he's like, well, what do you think about me giving the bird some Vitahawk? And me and Jackie kind of chuckled about it. Well, I'll be honest, like, what's Vitahawk going to do for stargazing? Like bird's got some serious shit going on. And I swear to God, the next day, the bird was normal. The blood results came back. The bird had a vitamin deficiency that was causing the bird's neck muscles to spasm and lock up, and it was pulling that bird's head up and making it look like it was stargazing. And all it was Vitahawk. That's what it needed. It needed some minerals and vitamins. It had a deficiency. Like, to me, that's just crazy to think about. We're thinking that we're about to have a dead bird here, and we need to, get this guy another bird, or he's about to have an expensive vet bill, and it turns out. So, I mean, that's kind of taught me to, there's more than one way to skin a cat, per se. I always try to tell my apprentices, and I want them to listen to me for the first little bit, but I also don't want them to just focus on what I say like it's the word of, the gospel. They need to develop their own skills a little bit and what's comfortable for them. But also at the same time, like, if we're far away and I can't see your bird every day, I can only go by what you kind of explain to me, but you're there with the bird. Sometimes you need to trust your gut a little bit because, you're with the bird every day. And I know as a new apprentice or whatever, or, a second year apprentice, you don't know everything, but like, don't knock yourself. Have some faith. You in yourself. You should be able to make some decisions and come up with some things as well, because it was something so simple for that, like him watching it, like, yeah, we shouldn't have chuckled about that. Like, yeah, what's it going to hurt to try it, and he did, and that solved the problem. So, I mean, I just feel like sometimes maybe like hearing some people talk that, it seems like sometimes maybe some sponsors can be too damn hard on their apprentices and, discredit what they say. But at the same time, like, that's going to make you a better apprentice is actually, paying attention to what you're doing instead of just going through the robotic motions of doing what your sponsor tells you. You need to, to learn the stuff. Yeah. But you also need to kind of play with it a little bit and develop your skills and kind of figure out what works for you. Because, I mean, hell, between us three right now, our trade-offs may be the same or I mean, maybe different, or, some people, which I don't agree with it. And if y'all do it, which you probably don't, that's fine, because it's whatever's comfortable for you. I don't agree with not hooding a bird. I think it's silly. It's the easiest way to keep a bird in a, out of a stressful situation, or you have full total control when that bird is hooded. And a lot of people don't, hood red tails. And because I know you don't have to, but why the hell wouldn't you? Because it's just that easy.
I think it's the best bird to hood.
Yeah. It's
every
easy.
red tail should be hooded. Yeah. Every red tail should be hooded. It's like, that's like step number one.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I, some people, obviously it's okay. Some people, I don't, I've heard of people having that weird sock made out of a jean or something where they pull the squirrel up in it to trade off or some weird shit. And then, some
or
people,
the blanket, they bring like the whole blanket in there.
Before I met Jackie, I don't tidbit hardly ever. If I'm hunting twice a day and I'm hunting long hours, I will tidbit some to give it some, but I don't tidbit much at all, because obviously that's less squirrels you can catch, if you give it too much. So, I always did a toss off. I'd grab the squirrel, and the way I did it was I'd have like a 10 gram, 8 gram mouse, and I would pop the head off, and I would stick it in my pinky under my gauntlet. I would stick it in my pinky under my gauntlet with a head, and I'd pitch the body. When the bird went to the mouse body, I'd put the squirrel in my bag, and then I'd call the bird to the glove, and I would let it pick at that head squeeze in my pinky while I put because I fly jessless, and then I'd put his jesses in, clip him, and hood him, let him rouse, and go again. And I noticed Jackie, she always lure. Everything's lure. Trade off is lure. We end on the lure. And I'm like, this is stupid. Why am I not doing this? Because you're always reinforcing that lure. I mean, just putting a small tidbit on there and tossing it. And I mean, it's like clockwork, because sometimes with those little mouse bodies, if a leaf rolls over it, the bird's just standing there looking at it. So now you got to find it and grab it and pitch again. So in my opinion, I swapped to the way that she was doing it, because when that bird gets that routine, it don't matter if you got food on it or not. You pull it, throw it, the bird's gonna come. So
we got a chicken in your house here.
Yes, the work farm.
Oh.
But yeah. So I would always I would always do it that way, but I swapped to hers because it's just always having that positive reinforcement, of the lure. And it just, to me, it made that bond with the lure better. So that's what I swapped and started doing.
I use the lure a lot. I use it the same way. Might be a North Carolina thing.
It's not. I do it too.
Shut your mouth.
I do it too. The lure, you definitely get a faster trade off if you use the lure.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
I hit it like they're killing it.
Yeah. But it depends. I mean, it depends on my mood. It depends if I'm on a rush. I'm not overly consistent. I should be.
Well, it's good to have the option. I feel like if it's lure trained, you can still trade off with a chunk of food thrown to the side without the lure.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been flying goshawks mostly the last couple of years, so I don't, I've never hooded a goshawk in between kills. You just let them eat a little, get them back on the glove, and then all of a sudden they're ready to go again.
Yeah.
Different bird.
Sounds like you're a good sponsor, Michael. Are you going to take any apprentices on in the near future?
I mean, I would be opposed to it. I obviously, being new in the area, I haven't had anybody reach out to me, but I've sponsored, I don't know, I think four. I think four people, four or five. And then, obviously Jackie and I have helped hers and mine together. So, helping those as well. But I don't mind if somebody's really dedicated and wants to do it, I'll help them any way I can.
I think that's the way we need to be, Casey. All right. Well, Michael, I appreciate your time, man. Now, Casey doesn't even get a word in. I appreciate your time, man, and thank you for coming on. And I really appreciate you going into the art of squirrel hawking because, like I was telling you, it's an underappreciated form of falconry. And you know what? That's one species that's not in decline. We can almost always go out and find squirrels.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Squirrels are very, very underutilized, and you can catch them with, most of the major birds that are used in falconry.
All right.
Right.
Well,
I appreciate y'all having me on.
So it's the Squirrel Hawker. That's where people can find you.
Yeah. If they want to watch the YouTube videos, it's the Squirrel Hawker on YouTube, and then I think Instagram's the same thing. I hadn't posted in a while on there, but there is some stuff on there, and then just Michael Moore on Facebook if you need something.
All right. Thanks again, man.
Yeah. Thank
Michael,
you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
I appreciate it.